Alright, so our learning target, let's look at our first one. Parker, read our first one. I can solve linear equation. Can anybody tell me in their own words what a linear equation is? In terms of how do you look at an equation that is linear? It creates a line, yes, that's what it represented graphically, but algebraically, how can you tell this? All the variables have an understood exponent of 1, okay? Because if it has an exponent of 2, what kind of function is it? It moves from linear to what? Quadratic. Very good. So today we're looking at all these variables have an understood exponent of 1 if you look. Alright, so very good. Number 1. You've been solving problems like this since what grade? 7th grade. So this shouldn't be a problem. I'm going to move the 3x over. I get 4x minus 4 equals 8. 4x equals 12. X equals 3. Number 2. Are we scared of fractions? No, you eat them for breakfast. You're going to be fine. Okay, I don't like working fractions. I get rid of them before we begin. Does anybody know how to get rid of fractions? You multiply through by the common denominator. So if I look at the denominators in this problem, 2 and 3, just the denominators, what's your common denominator? 6. So I'm going to multiply everything by 6. So let's do this. Okay, 2 goes into 6 how many times? 3. 3 times 1 is 3, so it's 3y. Negative 2 times 6 is negative 12. 1 times 2 is 2y. And then you just solve from there. 12 equals y. Alright, number 3. What would be my first step here, Zach? What would you do? I would distribute. Very good. You're going to distribute. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Before you start moving, should you combine like terms on the same side? Yes. Negative 6 and negative 17 is negative 23. 13 and negative 6 is 7. Then I'm going to move my variable. And you get x equals 6. Number 4. I'm going to get rid of those fractions. Look at your denominators. What's your common denominator between 4 and 3? 12. So I'm going to multiply everything by through 12. Four goes into 12 how many times? 3. So be careful when you write this. It's 3 times x plus 2 minus 3 goes into 12 how many times? 4. 4 times this, but don't forget that minus right there. And then 2 times 12 is 24. Now we'll do the distributive property. 3x plus 6 minus 4x plus 4 equals 24. 3x and negative 4x is negative x. 6 plus 4 is 10. And guys, if I ever go fast and make a mistake, don't feel like that's rude. You said, Miss Sherry, can you look back at that? I think you made a mistake. I don't find that rude, okay? What upsets me if you let me go the whole problem and I don't work the whole problem and I did something wrong at the beginning, okay? So always stop me if I did something wrong. So I got negative x equals 14. X equals negative 14. I know you're bored. We're going to get through this in just a minute and go on to something else. Alright. Are there any questions on 1 through 4? I'm going to throw this problem at you for just a second. You're not working it. I just want to talk about this. If I give you something like that, yes, you want to get rid of the fractions. What would be my common denominator? 24. We'll multiply everything through by 24. Now let's talk about what we would multiply. When you multiply through by the common denominator, you will multiply this by 24, this by 24. Now I want to talk about this part of this problem right here. You don't go inside the parentheses, okay? You would only multiply this part right here. The reason why is, aren't you still going to distribute something after you simplify it? So you don't go in the parentheses, you would just multiply everything else. Does that make sense to you? Okay, I just want to clarify that in case you ran into that. Yes, sir. Okay, talk about it. Okay. Okay, so right here, I'm looking at my fraction. I see my 3 and 8 are my denominators. So I'm going to find a common denominator of 24. So I'm going to clear out my fractions. Okay, so I'm going to multiply this by 24, this by 24, this by 24. But if you have parentheses within problems, don't go inside the parentheses. You would just multiply this out here and then distribute after that. And then multiply by 24. Does that make sense, huh? Are y'all good on that one? Okay. Alright, number 5. What's my common denominator? 24. I did not plan it like that, okay? So I got 24 here, 24 here. What's 24 times 5? 120. 3 goes into 24 8 times. It's got plus 8 times x minus 2. 8 goes in 24. That's going to be equals 3 times x plus 3. There's got to be a... I think that's it. Okay. Alright, 120 plus 8x minus 16 equals 3x plus 9. 120 minus 16, that's going to be 104. Move this over. 104 plus 5x equals 9. Move the 104 over. I'm left with 5x equals negative 95. And x equals negative 19. Is that correct? Y'all got to calculate it good. So our first learning target today, I can solve a linear equation. Are y'all good with that? Do you understand that one? Give me a hand signal. I need everybody a hand signal. Okay. Alright, that was the easy part. Now, the next learning target. Dick, read that one for us, please.
I can solve an equation for a given variable.
When I ask I can solve an equation for a given variable, what does that entail? What does that mean? Somebody in your own words.
You just solve for the variable.
Yeah, like, you're just trying to get that variable by itself, is it? Aren't you? That's all you're doing here, okay? Okay, so that's what we're going to spend the rest of the time of today's about. So it's at the bottom. Basically, you're like peeling an onion. You're just peeling it back one thing at a time, okay? And the way I attack these problems, guys, is if you're looking, first of all, you locate the variable you're trying to get by itself. Things that have nothing to do with that variable, I move them from those first, okay? And then I focus in on just the part that has that variable. So, like on this one right here, I find P. Well, it's kind of everything's with P, isn't it? When everything's side by side, what operation does that mean? Multiplication. So, to undo multiplication, what operation do you do? So I'm going to divide both sides by what? What I don't want, which would be what? RT. So I got I over RT equals P. Alright. Alright, number 7. What variable I want to solve for? M. So the first thing I'm going to do is locate M. Locate it here. I'm going to pull the stuff that has nothing to do with M. Well, D does not have anything to do with that. So I'm going to move it first. It's positive D on one side. It's going to be what on the other side? Negative. So let's move that over first. Okay, I want to get M by itself, so I'm going to divide both sides by what? P. So my answer is T minus D over P equals M. Number 8. If I see fraction, I'm going to get rid of it. What's your only denominator you have in there? 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. I'm going to multiply this by 2. You say, Mr. Chester, do I multiply everything? No, you just multiply, because all that's attached right there, so you would just multiply it 2. What happens at 2 and 1/2? It does what? Cancel. So you're left with 2A equals H times A plus B. This is Mr. Chester. I would distribute next. You could distribute. You don't have to here, because in the end you're going to get the same anyway. Okay, I want A. But I need to get in that parentheses to work with A. What's keeping me from getting in that parentheses? H. It's side by side. That means what operation? Multiplication. What's opposite of multiplication? So I'm going to divide both sides by H first. Okay? So I'm left with 2A over H equals A plus B. Now, I want A by itself, so where am I going to move over? B. And that's my answer. You said, Mr. Escher, it says solve for A. But you have 2 A's in that part. Okay. When you have one uppercase and one lowercase, that's 2 different variables, okay? You just wanted the lowercase A. Okay. Are there any questions on those first 3? Number 9. What do you think we were doing on number 9? Talking group for just 30 seconds. Talking group. When I say talking group, that means you look at your partner. Not talk to yourself. Or the conversation going on? It already went. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Alright. So what would you do? What would you do? Don't be scared. What did you say? I would cross multiply. Yes, cross multiply. When you got something like that, I would cross multiply. Alright. Now I want to get S by itself. So what's the first thing I need to do? Divide by what? B. Okay. Then move what over? There you go. How about number 10? I'm going to tell you, that is one that got me when I was in this class many years ago. How to handle that. It's fractions. So what's the first thing when I say you see a fraction, you work to get what? Rid of it. So I look at my denominator, P, Q, and F. What's my common denominator? P, Q, F. You need to multiply everything by P, Q, F. So I'm going to multiply this and be P, Q, F, P, Q, F, P, Q, F. Well, these P's cancel out, so I got QF times 1 is QF. These Q's cancel out, I got PF. This F cancel out, I got PQ. And that should be equals. Take a moment to look at that and see what I did there. You want to solve for F. And now in this problem, I have two F's. And I'm going to teach you a toolkit strategy here. Something that you need to keep in the back of your mind and use whenever you need to. When you have more than one of the same variable you want, you need to get it down to one. The thing you always do is factor. Because if you factor something, you're going to get that one variable. Got me? So always keep that in the back of your mind, that that is a strategy. So I want to solve for F. So what I'm going to do first is factor out an F there. GCF. Now, how could I get F by itself? Divide both sides by what? Q plus P. And that's your answer. And see, when I was in college, I didn't think of factor. And I stayed there for hours looking at the problem. And that was simple, just factor. So always keep that in the back of your mind. Okay, and our last one for today is number 11. It says solve for R. Does capital R and little r mean the same thing? No. So the first thing I want to do is move what is not even attached to capital R, which is what? IR right here, don't I? So I'm going to move that over. Like that. That comes over as a negative. And then divide both sides by what? I, and you're done. And that's your answer. Take a moment to look at the bottom part, the solving for variables, and see if there are any questions about any of those 6 problems we just did. Don't close your notebook. So, Miss Ray, that's pretty fast. It won't be like that. This is all review problems. Every lesson will not be like that. But I don't want you to be bored either.
So you just cancel out the I's?
No, great question. She just said, can we cancel out the I's? No, because when you have a plus or minus in between two things, you can't cancel that out. Now, if that was an IR over I, you could do it, but since there's a plus or minus, these two things belong together. You can't do that. Yes, another question? Okay, how do you feel about the second learning target? I need a hand signal. Okay. All right, let's look at our homework. You can start on that. Get your let's look at this. The first part is those easy equations, 13 through 24. 13 through 24, all of those. Yes, because there's no room, guys, and on this, and I want it on separate sheet of paper. 13 through 24. And then on your math workshop, do 2 through 12 even on the same page. Yes.
For 13 to 18, which are incredibly easy, do that in short order.
No, if you come up, look, since you're in dual enrollment, if you can do most of the steps in your head, you can do those in your head. No, just these problems. Yeah. And then 2 through 12 even on that math workshop. When you do get your textbook, guys, I didn't give you any given variables tonight. Solve for given variable, that'd be tomorrow. But when you do get your textbook, guys, a thing that you need to know, the odd problems are in the back of the book. I give you odd a lot so you can check your answers. Okay? Use that resource. Yes, honey.
Where's the math workshop?
That's the same page from last night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's on the back of the syllabus.
Is it 2 more teams than 12, or 2 through 18?
2 through 12.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, hold on. Just run that.
It's pretty funny because mine last year had a gator clip that held it open to my face.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm gonna run to the restroom. Luke Lamar's in charge. No one leave the bell ring. You good? Okay. If the bell rings before I get back, y'all have a great second day, and I'll see you tomorrow, okay? Sure. I think it's gonna ring in about a minute.
May I have your attention? May I have your attention? At this time, please move on to second period. At this time, let's transition to second period. Thank you.
What if I don't remember what I said?
You're in.
I'll draw some learning style.
What do you do for me?
More rare breed. Happy hour. He said textbook, so maybe he said textbook. Yeah, that's your fault out there, folks. See, that's cute. Not bad. Do we have to have these today? I have
Yeah, I did.
3.
You did?
I can get like.
Probably out of Jolly Ranchers already.
And because everybody got big hands.
I apologize.
Good morning. Here we go. I'm still recording. Let me turn that off.